how about doing some fitting with Pintucks? I was scrolling around on my social media feed this morning and I saw some cute linen dresses that were shaped with Pintucks, meaning the Pintucks were closed and then they started to open. I'm going to show you how to rotate the bust dart to the top of the pattern so we can then create Pintucks that will create a fit and flare shape for a knee length dress. And I'm planning on making this out of some linen I have in my stash, and it's setting me up perfectly for Fab Fit Friday. So if you follow along with me, check out Fab Fit Friday this Friday. And if you're watching this replay after the fact, I will put a link to that Fab Fit Friday in the description below this video so you can follow along with how I continue to work on this design. So normally when I do my Fit Tip Tuesday videos, I work with a half scale or small pattern piece. But I want to show you real size. So I've traced a copy of my perfectly fitted shirt pattern that I did fitting with during my efficient workflow for bodice fitting classes, and it's ready to go. It fits, which is an important thing to mention. You want to make sure that whatever pattern you're hacking or drafting into something else fits you before you get started, so you don't transfer any of the fitting adjustments or fitting issues to your new design. So what I'm going to do first here is I am going to draw, here's the tip of my dart. Let me just slide this up a little bit so you can see. Tip of my dart is here. I'm going to extend this out to, closer to where my actual apex is, and then I'm going to draw a straight line down to that area. So we're going to just do this, and the goal is I want to create Pintucks that release as they come to the fullest part of the bust. Some of them will continue through the bust. They're going to be gradiated, or they're going to radiate in terms of when they open, and I'm going to test this and see how it works. But basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to slash through my shoulder because I want to open that, and then I'm going to just slash to the side seam edge. And if I make a note here, my side seam is really right here because I have a fitting allowance on here, and I also have the built-in seam allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark where the actual, okay, so this is really my side seam right there. So I'm going to put a piece of tape at my actual side seam so I can create the pivot at the actual side seam. Okay, all right, so I'm going to open this up and I'm going to close my bust dart halfway. I don't need all of the fullness up there, so I'm just going to close it halfway like this. And I'm pivoting at the tip of my actual dart here. So let me just do that. So I'm going to close it about halfway. And then I'm going to put some tape. Now what that's giving me is all of this room up here to create Pintucks to recreate the original length of the shoulder. Okay, so that's how that's going to pop open. And the reason why I'm only closing it halfway here is because I'm also going to spread it from below and add some flare to the hem. So I want to do it in two different directions here. So basically I'm just going to put a piece of tape there for a second. Then I'm going to advance my pattern, and I'm going to just continue this line all the way down like this. And I'm going past the hem of the original, torso length shirt. And I know that is my full hip, so I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm going to go ahead and add 15 inches to that hem. And for now, I'm just going to draw a straight line down here. You know, I'm going to connect the center front edge all the way down like that. And I'm going to just sort of continue my side seam at a slight angle like that. So I've lengthened this into a dress, you know, like a knee length dress. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slash up to my bust start. And this time, what I'll do, you know, I've taped down the section that I've rotated to the shoulder. So this time what I'll do is I'll cut the bottom dart leg to the side seam and create a pivot. And I'm going to rotate this one up. Oops. So basically I'm going to just finish closing my dart like this. Okay, and what's happening here is you can see that I've closed the dart completely. And it's making this little triangle here. I'm not going to worry about that, but I am going to make sure I put the pattern back the way it goes. So basically, let me just, I'm going to tape this together for a second so I can see the original. And what I should have done is just drawn myself a couple lines to make sure that when I put that back, I'm putting it back correctly, like this. So this is on the straight. I'm going to line up my guidelines here. And I'm going to tape this back together. And obviously I'm going to need some paper. Here. So I'm going to go ahead and tape that down. And I want to make sure that these are lined up, right? So I'm going to tape that shut. I'm going to stick some paper in here. All right, so I'm just going to tape this whole thing down. So essentially now I'm taping this down, and what did we do so far? All we did so far was rotate the dart to get rid of the bust dart. That's essentially what we've done so far. So if I wanted to just sew this up as is, I could have a shoulder dart, and I could leave the flare at the hem to make it A-line, but I want to make those pin tucks. So the other thing I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to add a little bit more ease through my full bust, because you can see I didn't add anything when I rotated the dart. I'm going to drag this pattern piece from the hem all the way to the shoulder so you can see what it looks like. I'm just going to connect this for now. All right, so basically there's my hem. You can see I've added sort of an A-line shape to the skirt section. And then when you come up here, you can see that we have all of this extra. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to redraw my shoulder by connecting it And I'm going to draw my inch. I mean, I have a 3/4 inch seam allowance here, so I'm going to mark that too. All right, so I reestablished my shoulder. Now I'm going to measure how much I actually added. You don't want to measure it up at the top because that's going to be an inflated number. So let's measure down here. I've added 3.5 inches to the shoulder. Now if I do 1/8 inch pin tucks, that would give me 4 per inch, right? Because an 1/8 and an 1/8 is 1/4, and you're folding it and you're sewing. So I've got 14 pin tucks that I can add to each side of my dress. All right, so let's look at this. I'm going to use a different color here because I've been doing a little thinking about it off camera. Let me just draw in green. This green zone is where the pin tucks are going to go to put the shoulder back to its original length. So I have to get rid of 3.5 inches because that's how much was added from here to here, right? So I did the math. I can make 14 1/8 inch pin tucks, and it needs to be where it's going to hit the shoulder to shorten the shoulder back to its original length. All right, so if I were going to leave the neckline tight like that, this is the space I would have from here to here to do those pin tucks to put the shoulder back to its original length. But I'm going to open up the neckline a little bit. I don't want it to be on the base of my neck. This is designed for a collar stand, this particular neckline. So we're going to open up the neckline, and I think I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to measure, let's say, 2 inches from the base of my neck to have it start a little bit farther from the base of my neck. And I'm going to use a different color here so we can see what I'm doing. So let's just measure 2 inches here. And then I'm also going to bring the opening down. Okay, it's at the base of my neck here. So let's go down about, let's see, maybe to here. So let's go down 4 inches like this. And then I'm going to draw myself a little 90-degree angle for the base. And then I think what I'm going to do is just dash in a little bit of a scoop neck here. Like this. I think I like that. And then of course, once I've dashed it in, I can just draw it in nicely with my French curve. All right, so that will be my more open neckline. And you can see we're getting rid of that much real estate on my shoulder, but I think I'm still going to continue pin tucks, you know, below the neckline as well. And the way I'm going to make space or make more room for pin tucks to continue here, because remember, we didn't make any extra ease under the neckline. We just rotated the bust dart to the shoulder. I need to bring that back to its original length. I'm going to extend my center front an inch so I can put 4 pin tucks across the neckline as well. So I'm just going to extend my center front out an inch like this. This is nice because I don't have to tape anything. All right, so now what I've done is I've extended my center front out 1 inch. That gives me 4 pin tucks that I can do through the neckline. And then I'm going to distribute the other 14 pin tucks, I'm going to start here because remember, this was my original shoulder, so I can use this bust start ease to continue the 14 pin tucks from here to here. And then I can add 4 more in here. So they'll be heavier along the sides, and as I come to the neckline, the pin tucks will be a little less, more spaced out. All right, so that's my plan for here. And remember, I wanted to add a little bit of extra through my full bust, so I've added 2 inches because I've got an inch here and then I've got an inch on the other side. I'm working with a half of a front. So I'm kind of excited about this. So let's just recap what I did in this tutorial. I showed you how to rotate the bust start to the shoulder, half of it to the shoulder, and then half of it to the hem to create an A-line shape. All right, so that's the foundation for our dress. Then I brought out the neckline, added an inch so I can add some pin tucks closer to center front. And I'm going to have to do a couple things here. I didn't make a copy of my back pattern piece, but when I do, I am going to make the shoulder and neckline match in the back. So I'm going to widen the neckline in the back. And I think for fun, I'm going to spread the back at the center back neckline and just put a few short pin tucks from the back neckline down to give it some shape. So that's my plan for this. If you want to follow along with how I develop this pattern farther, please check out Fab Fit Friday this Friday because I'll be working on it. And again, if you're watching this after the Fab Fit Friday occurs, I'm going to go back in and put the link in the description below so you can see next steps for this pattern. But I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on how to rotate your dart to get rid of the bust start, and then sort of a start of a design process to use pin tucks to take up the ease we rotated to the shoulder, and adding a little bit more ease at center front to make more room through the bust. I'm very excited about this. I have a piece of linen I'm dying to sew together that I got from Metro Textiles. It's a beautiful red linen, so I'm going to be using that to make this dress. And join me Friday for Fab Fit Friday to follow along. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying my content, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel because it helps me grow. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on Friday.